We're back, folks, and I just want to get into the last week's UFC. Man, that UFC last week pissed me off. It didn't piss me off that I lost money, right? Which we know I lost money on the Usman fight. I told you guys I was so solid on Muhammad Mokaev and Gunnar Nelson. Man, Muhammad Mokaev almost got knee barred. Probably popped his knee, but either way, that boy ain't tapping, and he was not losing that fight. I was so confident in him and Gunnar Nelson, but Usman. Damn, I still think Usman is the better fighter out of the two. In my opinion, I've been super critical of Trevor Whitman for years, and I'm gonna criticize him even more because, man, you couldn't bring in some wrestling sparring partners and a wrestling coach for this guy to work with. He looked like some of those wrestling exchanges where he did get Leon down, but dude, I mean, his wrestling looked like he didn't train wrestling at all during this camp until he got into the fight. He looks like he was just training striking the whole time. And if you notice, he has his main sparring partner is a guy by the name Justin Gaethje, who does not like to wrestle. All Justin Gaethje likes to do, he's a wrestler growing up, but the guy loves to strike. And, Usman now thinks he's a striker, and I don't know whether it's his knees, maybe he can't wrestle anymore, and the cardio's gone, whatever it may be. But I remember when Usman was training at Hard Knocks 365 with Henry Hooft, he had so many good guys to roll with and wrestle with. Yeah, his striking may have got a little better by, going with a specialist like Trevor Whitman and just having all that focus on him, but clearly it's taken away from his grappling. So Leon Edwards remains the champ. Up next, we got Colby Covington. I think Colby Covington could be a bad matchup for Leon. If he's able to implement that wrestling, he's got a great gas tank. He'll definitely shoot a lot more than Usman. And, but I think Leon Edwards is the better striker of the two. So if he's able to stuff Colby's takedowns like he did Usman's, don't be surprised if Leon wins that fight. And, that's going to be a good matchup. Poor Bilal Muhammad, because I like Bilal, and he probably should be getting a title shot. What do you guys think? I want to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think Bilal Muhammad deserves it? He did beat Vicente Luque and Sean Brady, but Sean Brady, we didn't really know where he was at. He's undefeated, but we didn't really know where he's at. He beat Wonder Boy and Damian Maia, who are both like 40 in their 40s, so. Yeah, I'm not giving that too much credit, but that Vicente Luque rematch win was big. I think Bilal, unfortunately, he just doesn't have that name value. The UFC is a business. At the end of the day, their job is to make money, right? So putting Bilal Muhammad in there for a title shot against Leon Edwards, dude, that doesn't sell pay-per-views. What sells pay-per-views is Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. Everyone wants to see Colby. Dude, Colby at the weigh-in, he came in as a backup, and he literally had more views than anyone at the weigh-in. He wasn't even fighting. He wasn't even competing. He was a backup. But yet more people were intrigued to see him. Clearly, he's the biggest name out of them. So it makes sense. Colby Covington, if he's the welterweight champ, that's huge for the UFC. UFC will love that. UFC will absolutely love Colby Covington. And then, boom, maybe you can push a McGregor-Colby Covington fight if McGregor gets past Chandler. And I'm pretty sure that fight's at 170. Dude, if he beats Chandler, you can throw Connor and Colby. Dude, that fight? Come on, bro. That's selling pay-per-views. Those press conferences are money, bro. And that's what the UFC wants. So, unfortunately, Bilal Muhammad just doesn't have the same name recognition and doesn't sell the pay-per-views as Colby Covington. And if he did, he would be in that position. But unfortunately, he just doesn't. And even worse, now he's got to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov, which is, that's a scary fight for Bilal Muhammad. He's got to go out there and wrestle fuck Shavkat because he doesn't want to strike. And Shavkat's a great grappler himself, but we'll see. This weekend, Sandhagen takes on Marlon Vera. Have not made any bets yet, but if I'm going to, I'm going to post them on my Instagram. This fight could go either way. I'm surprised Corey Sandhagen is the minus 170 favorite. I looked on my gambling website. He was minus 160 last time I checked. Corey Sandhagen, he comes out strong. So I can easily see him coming out there strong right off the bat and winning those, first 2 rounds. Marlon Vera, on the other hand, unlimited cardio, great gas tank, and likes to come on strong at the end of the fight. That round 4 or 5, that's going to be Chito Vera's rounds. When I first seen this fight matched up, I was like, I think Corey Sandhagen, if he can not get knocked out, I think Corey Sandhagen wins the decision. That's what I think. Because I don't think you're going to finish Chito Vera. Chito Vera is black belt in jiu-jitsu. You're not going to submit him. And he's got a granite chin, dude. He can take a shot. I remember he fought John Lineker, I think it was. And, dude, he took some massive shots and kept moving forward. I was like, geez, this guy is for real. On the feet, Corey Sandhagen is a much more technical striker out of the two. He's got wicked footwork, great movement, great head work. On the ground, I would say, submission, Marlon Vera does have a really good submission game. Corey Sandhagen, no slouch on the ground himself, but definitely that, seems to be his weaker area is the ground game. If you've seen Aljo, he definitely exploited that, but Aljo's a lot better in the ground game than Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera likes to stand and bang. So this fight, I have a feeling, is going to go the distance. Who wins? Or if Marlon Vera wins, I could see Marlon Vera getting a late knockout against Sandman. But I can also see Sandman, just picking him apart for 4 or 5 rounds and getting it done that way. Yeah, that's a really good matchup. I think if this fight does go to decision, because Corey Sandhagen does have a chin. Yeah, Holm takes on Yana Kutskaya, or sorry, I should say Yana Santos now. Holm doing the damn thing, 41 years of age. She's got, 36 professional MMA fights, like 40 pro kickboxing fights, 20 MMA fights, 30 or 40 pro boxing fights. She's got kickboxing pro fights. She's been doing the damn thing for a long time. Her last fight, it was a split decision loss to Ketlen Vieira. Some people thought Holly won. Some people thought Ketlen won. It was really close. Now she's taking on Thiago Santos' wife, Yana Santos. And her last fight was it was not impressive at all. She got finished by Irene Aldana, Mexican girl. Just was not impressive. Holm actually has a unanimous decision win over Irene Aldana, but then Holm lost to Ketlen Vieira, and Yana Kunitskaya or Yana Santos beat Ketlen Vieira. So that fight, I suck at predicting women's fights because I just don't pay the same amount of attention, but I think I'm going to go with the underdog on this one. Plus 185. Holm, getting later in age, almost 42 years old. Time's up, I think. All right, we got Nate Lander takes on Austin Lingo. Nate Lander, huge favorite going in, minus 250. Let's see here. He's in the last 5 fights, he's got 3 wins, 2 losses, one over to Gilbert Burns' brother, Herbert Burns. He got finished in the first round, and Juliana Rosa finished him in the first round. Very surprised, though, he's minus 250 going into this fight against Austin Lingo. Austin Lingo, he had that one loss to Yusuf Zalal in 2020, which was his first UFC fight. Your first UFC fight, you come in, fight Yusuf Zalal, 2 or 3 years ago, sorry. But then, coming off 2 straight wins, the fact that he's minus 250, I don't know if I agree with that. I'm sort of leaning towards Nate Lander, but in no way do I think the odds should be minus 250. But maybe the odds makers know something I don't. So I'll probably lean towards Nate Lander, but Austin Lingo, don't count him out. Not quite. All right. Andrea Lee, Macy Barber. I think Macy Barber, they want to build that girl for sure. So I think I'll go with Macy Barber on that one. Manel Cape, Alex Perez. This is another one where Alex Perez, he's a good fighter. He had unfortunate, in the last few years where he had like so many canceled bouts with Askar Askarov. He was supposed to fight, then he was supposed to fight Almir Albazi, then he was supposed to fight Kai Kara France, then he was supposed to fight Moreno and Matt Schnell, and those all just didn't come into fruition. They're just injuries and unfortunate circumstances. And he was on a roll at one point. But his last two fights, he got choked out by Davison Figueiredo, and then his last fight against Pantoja in 2022, he got choked out by Alexander Pantoja. Now he's taken on Manel Cape. Manel Cape's been on a roll. He's got 3 straight wins. He himself also has a loss to Pantoja. 3 straight wins though. He, flying knee O'Day Osborne. He beat Zalga Zumagolov. I think it's just the activity, maybe why they're counting out Alex Perez, but yeah, I'm going to go with the over on this one. I think this fight's going to go over 1.5. Chidi Kwani takes on Albert Duraev. Chidi Kwani, super tall for the weight class. Most people don't know, but his brother was actually the first one of the 2 brothers in the UFC, Anthony Kwani. He was a great fighter. And now we got Chidi Kwani. So he was on a roll, and then he fought RoboCop. I actually took RoboCop against him in the last fight, and that was a banger. That was a death match. That fight could have went either way. RoboCop did get the finish, and now he's going to bounce back and fight Albert Duraev. Albert Duraev, a lot of people were high on him, coming into that fight against Joaquin Buckley, and he got shut down by Joaquin Buckley. Buckley just picked him apart and just shut his eye, closed his eye. Albert Duraev actually, the fight had to be stopped because his eye was swollen so shut that he actually could not see out of his eye. So Joaquin Buckley pieced him up. And that was very surprising because I thought Duraev was going to out-grapple him. That was not the case at all. I am leaning towards Chidi Kwani. I think this fight stays standing. If it does go to the ground, Chidi's not so bad on the ground. I think he'll be able to do enough to get that fight back to the feet. And I think I'm going to go with Chidi Kwani, but let's see how he reacts, comes back from a knockout, right? We've seen Usman didn't react too well, come off a knockout loss, and yeah, so we got Tucker Lutz, 12-2, takes on Daniel Pineda. Wasn't Daniel Pineda in PFL, right? I think he was in the PFL. He's doing pretty good over there. Got signed by the UFC, fought Herbert Burns, beat Gilbert Burns' brother, but then his last fight, he did not look good against Cub Swanson. Sorry, the Andre Fili fight was a no contest because of an eye poke, so I'm not counting that. But before that, he lost by a right cross to Cub Swanson. Which was not impressive. Cub Swanson's 40 years old now. So I was not impressed by that whatsoever. So I think Tucker Lutz should get it done on this one. Steven Peterson takes on Lucas Alexander. Steven Peterson, this guy's got 30 professional fights. Alexander over here has got 10 professional fights. Significant experience advantage, and I think that's going to come into play here. If you guys look at the significant strikes landed per minute, Steven Peterson 5.17 strikes landed per minute, and Lucas Alexander 0.49. That's pretty significant. I know Lucas hasn't fought in the UFC really, but that's still impressive. So I'm going to go with Steven Peterson on that one. Trevin Giles takes on Preston Parsons. Trevin Giles, man, he was a guy he had some great wins. If you guys don't know, he beat James Krause, and he also beat Roman Dolidze, unanimous decision 2 years ago. He beat Roman Dolidze, who just lost to Marvin Vettori, but Roman Dolidze was on fire. He finished Jack Hermanson. He was looking great. And yeah, and now he's Trevin Giles. After that win over Roman Dolidze, he dropped a loss to Dricus du Plessis and Michael Morales. Came back and won in unanimous over Luis Kosk. So Trevin Giles is one of those guys that's like 50-50. Some of those fights he's in it to win it, and other times you're just like, man, you beat Roman Dolidze, but you lost to this guy. He's 50-50, and clear by the odds here. It's even odds fight. This fight could go either way. So Preston Parsons was on a roll until he fought his first fight in the UFC to D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez, which is a tough first fight, and he got knocked out in the first round. And then he came back, fought Evan Elder, beat Evan Elder, and now he's fighting Trevin Giles. I'm going to go with Trevin Giles on this one. I think, man, if you can beat Roman Dolidze by unanimous decision, I think you can beat Preston Parsons. It just depends what Trevin Giles shows up. CJ Vergara, coming off an armbar loss to Tatsuro Taira. I think that was just a horrible matchup. Tatsuro Taira, that Japanese kid, he's the real deal. Been talking about him for a while. And now he's taking on Daniel Lacerdo. Yeah, this is interesting. I think this. I don't know if his last fight's Lacerdo, because I'm pretty sure his last name might be De Silva. I think the UFC might have his name wrong, unless one of them's his middle name or something. But Daniel De Silva is coming off 3 straight losses in the UFC. So, his first fight in the UFC, he fought Jeff Molina, who's like the bisexual dude that just came out, and then he fought Francesco Ferreiro and Victor Altamirano, and he got finished by all 3 guys. 2 of those fights he got finished in the first round. Jeff Molina finished him in the second round, and now he's fighting CJ Vergara. I think CJ Vergara easily gets this one done, and I think this is the last fight you're going to see Daniel in the UFC. I think, yeah, time's up. If you lose 4 straight and you're not a big name, like you're not down Donald Cerrone or one of these guys, I think time's up. So I think CJ Vergara easily gets that one. All right, Manuel Torres takes on Trey Ogden. El Loco is coming off 4 straight wins. He had that fight in the Contender Series, which he looked great against Colton England, and then he fought Frank the Crank Camacho, and he won viciously in the first round against Frank the Crank. Now he's fighting Trey Ogden. I actually have not seen too much of this Trey Ogden guy. Had 2 fights in the UFC. He lost a split decision over Jordan Levitt, the guy like twerks and shit. And then he fought Daniel Zellhuber, who was 12-0 at the time, which was pretty impressive. The Mexican guy, 12-0. Beat him, and now he's fighting another Mexican, Manuel Torres, or Manuel. Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Manuel Torres on that one. Yeah, I'm going to go with Manuel Torres. Now, last one, I'll give you my prediction on. Victor Altamirano, he holds a win over Daniel De Silva. 3 wins in his last 4 fights. Pretty impressive. Takes on Vinicius Salvador. 2 Brazilians going at it. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Vinicius Salvador on this one. I think I'm going to go with the Brazilian dude on this one. But I haven't really seen too much of these guys, to be honest. I think, Vinicius he's never actually fought in the UFC, so it's hard to get a good look and read on some of these guys. They've never fought in the UFC. He's had 1 fight in the Contender Series, and, he looked great on the Contender Series, but that was against Shannon Ross. So we'll see. Now you're on the big stage fighting in front of a live crowd. I believe it's a live crowd, or is it in the Apex? Could be in the Apex, actually. No, it's in San Antonio, Texas. All right, well, those are your picks. This is just the appetizer, because we got another pay-per-view coming up. Adesanya takes on Pereira. That's going to be a banger. And so if you guys want to make some money, BetUS, promo code Iceman. And I'm going to try to post my bets on IG, but yeah, I don't know if I'm betting too heavy on this one. But the ones I'm feeling, Corey Sandhagen by decision, that one looks great. Marlon Vera, if he might get a late KO, that one's a good bet. And even Chidi looks a good bet, but there's not too many good bets. But we'll see. So maybe some of you guys are seeing something I'm not, and send me your bet slips, because I seen some of your bet slips last week. I was impressed. So keep doing what you guys are doing. Out.